We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. By the time you hear this, it will be Saturday, and we have the great fortune to have a guest on the show, a guest who's been on before and was well reviewed by the listeners and asked to have her back. So we have her back. We have Ilona from the East Coast of America, and she is a blue dot in what sounds like a very red area. Um, and we have a lot to talk about. First of all, Ilona, thanks for joining us again. Thanks for consenting to tolerate me for an hour, hour and a half or so. That's much appreciated.
Well, I appreciate you allowing me to come on, and thank God New Jersey is Democrat, even though Trump just said that he's going to try and win, or he's going to win New Jersey because of the president being such a, terrible president, and he's going to win New Jersey. But no, sir, he is not.
Well, let me ask you this. He had that rally in New Jersey, and he swears 100,000 people joined up. I have a feeling that's a bit inflated. Any idea?
I don't know. I think there were a fair amount of people, but they did film the people leaving while he was speaking.
Yeah,
Did you see that? Those
I did. That
So
happens
I'm
a
not
lot.
sure. Yeah, yeah. So they were leaving, but
Well,
anyway, I'm far away from that area. I'm about 2 hours
okay,
north of there.
but
I'm
but
also near the shore.
but
Yeah,
you think the the idea that he's going to flip New Jersey is a little far fetched? Is that what you're saying?
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Well, it's ironic. We have
Please.
something in common here because as much as he said that about New Jersey, he of course is going to
Oh,
bear
you said,
grudge
yeah, didn't you say that you too?
about Minnesota too. And guess what? He's coming here today.
Yes.
Apparently after the graduation of his young son.
Huh.
Hopefully, anyway.
Well,
So,
I guess you might want to leave early then, right?
well, you know what I did say on one of the TikToks? I said, Donnie, if you think you're going to flip Minnesota, you're terribly mistaken. We're a pretty liberal state. We have a liberal governor who's done some amazing things as of late in Minnesota. There are pockets of red dipshits, but you're not going to flip Minnesota. I said, but if you really want to push it and try, I do a podcast every night. You can come on the podcast. I'd love to have you on the fucking podcast, which of
No,
course he
no,
won't do.
no. This is what you're going to do. You're going to heckle them, right? You're going to go. Have you seen those guys on TikTok who interview the
Yeah.
Republicans at rallies? Oh my God. It's so bad. They're so ridiculous. Oh my gosh. But you
Yeah.
should do that. That would be so fun, Mike. Come on.
Well, Old Soul and I have talked about that, and she's watched those same videos, and she's terrified. She thinks those poor young kids are going to get their ass kicked. Now, I'm older, and I've been in a few fights in my life, but I don't need to get into a physical altercation at 64.
No, but they don't even know what hit them. They don't know
Yeah,
what hit them
you're
when
right.
they get interviewed. They're so oblivious to their, I don't want to say stupidity, but their belief system is not everyone's belief system. And it just goes right over their heads and the guys are clearly making fun of them. I
Yeah.
mean, they ask questions and they like respond with stupidity. And I mean, I don't know.
The sad thing is that's my favorite thing to do is give people shit when they don't realize it. I for whatever sick reason, I enjoy that. So I would love to do that sort of thing, and I'm not afraid of confrontation. I'd be the perfect one to do it. I just don't know that. Honestly, my wife would allow it. She's not going to allow it. As it is, she gets nervous every time somebody recognizes me because she doesn't know if they're friend or foe. Yeah, I could get recognized by some bad people as well as some good people. Fortunately, that hasn't happened as yet.
Well, we do have to always listen to our wives, so I agree with that 100%. Do whatever she tells you, Mike.
I pretty much do. And if I don't, I change my ways quickly because it's pointed out that I missed something. Um, but anyway, you had some things you wanted to talk about coming on the show, and why don't we bring some of those up because I think they
Yeah.
have some
So,
interesting.
I want to talk about some of the dumb fucks of the week.
Okay.
And the number one for me this week is Kansas City kicker Harrison Butker commencement speech at Benedictine College. You can Google that if you haven't heard it, but it's one of the most misogynistic, homophobic, Christian fascist tirade bullshit you ever heard. He pretty much told the women in the audience, yeah, 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 it's nice you got a degree, good for you, yay, you, but we all know you just want to get married and have babies because that's where it's at. That's what's important. And I'm so grateful that my wife does this so that I can have a career. I mean, it was so nauseating, and I don't think he's going to get canceled. I wish he would, but I think that the speech was not written by him. I think there's an agenda here. I don't know if you've heard of this lady, what's her name? Olivia Juliana. She's an activist and she has a TikTok account. And what she said about that speech I thought was fascinating. She said because of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift being both liberals and probably going to endorse Joe Biden, Kansas City is doing the other side and trying to balance things because they're afraid they're going to lose, or they are losing viewers, and that's why they had this guy say these ridiculous things, because they want to keep the people coming. What do you think about that, Mike?
Well, it sounds very cynical, but I tend to believe it. I mean, that's the state this country has come into, where families are breaking up because of political issues. Businesses have to make political decisions. Um, and we've never had to do that before. It's just since the uh, introduction of Donald Trump into politics. Now it's become very divisive, and now you got to pick a side. It's kind of like the Israeli Hamas war. Everybody wants to pick a side, and they ask me what I think, and I never offer my opinion because I don't really have an opinion on it. I don't have a dog in the fight, but no matter what I say, it's going to be bad. Somebody's going to be angry at me. So I just simply say, I support the innocent people that are little more than chattel and what's the other word I'm trying to say? Just caught in the middle and getting killed and injured by two crazy people. One being Ben Netanyahu and the Hamas people. So, but this Butker thing, I didn't talk about it on TikTok um, because I wasn't sure it was a big enough deal, and it's kind of away from the political aspect. It is political, but it's away from what I normally talk about. But I think it's very intriguing. And if you're on TikTok, it's like every fucking other video. This is
Yeah, yeah,
huge news, this Butker
yeah.
guy. Now, he probably won't get canceled because he's one of the best kickers in the NFL. The idea that they're trying to balance it so they can keep the Trumplafucks
You
and
want
the
the money, the money.
well, and that's the thing. That's the thing about it is when we're talking about Republicans or we're talking about businesses, it's come down to the point where we have to realize they don't care about us. They aren't trying to help us. It's about how much they can grift from us. And they're trying to walk the tightrope so they keep everybody happy. The Republicans in Congress do that. You have the vast majority aren't MAGA, but for whatever reason, they're afraid to piss off MAGA. It's a sad state of greed in this country and not much integrity.
Well, the NFL has come out against his statement, but I don't think he's going to get canceled. He's, an athlete, and, athletics rule, football rules this country. So I
Well,
just
even
think it's very calculated what they did.
Well, yeah, it was very calculated, and even if he did get kicked off the Kansas City Chiefs, which isn't going to happen, um, somebody else would pick him up. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, we've got Republicans speaking out against abortion and doing horrible things, and they're getting reelected. There's a certain faction of our society that is willing to accept the draconian ideas of these fucking religious right or the Republicans. And
Mhm.
and they've always been there. I think what the only thing we can do about it is through this election in 2024 is send them back to a point where they're embarrassed to come out from under their rocks and just try to keep them there as long as possible. We can't fix them. We can't change them.
Well, you can just see the political environment that exists right now that would allow him to do a speech like that. Like that, maybe 20 years ago, 40 years ago, that would have been okay. But now, like, are you kidding me? We've really gone backwards in this country for women's rights. Like, it's ridiculous. It's obscene. I'm just like so angry.
Well, he may not get canceled, but his life is going to get decidedly harder because maybe 25 or 30% back him. The other 70% hate him. There are going to be protests and people screaming at him at games. There's going to be his own teammates going, "What the fuck are you doing?" I'm imagining Taylor Swift is on the phone with Travis Kelsey saying, "Kick his ass," because he's an asshole. So his life is going to get
Yeah,
harder. And the thing about a punter is it's all pretty much in your head. And if your head goes off the fucking wagon, you're
oh,
not
you
in
think
business
so?
anymore. I don't know. It depends on how much of a narcissistic, delusional fuck he is. Because somebody like Donald Trump is hard to shake because he doesn't believe anything that's outside of his head. He doesn't believe in reality. He believes in his delusions.
Well, here's another like fucked up thing about it. His mother, this guy Butker's mother, is a medical physicist.
Yeah, yeah.
And like to have her son go up there and say such bullshit, like what kind of boy did she raise? I mean, we're not really responsible for what our kids end up saying or doing, but it doesn't make any sense. Like why
No.
he would do that, which is why I think he was put up to do this.
Well, and that's the thing about the religious right. It's all based in hypocrisy. When we've talked to Old Soul about the abortion thing and people coming to her house and staying with her, oftentimes it's people coming from Republican parties. So they're against abortion up until the time they have to deal with it. Then it's okay. So it's the essence of hypocrisy with the religious
Yeah,
right.
so speaking of, this is the second dumb fuck of the week. GOP Representative Jesse Edwards, who called teenagers ripe and fertile, and he opposed a bill that would raise the age of marriage from 16 to 18. Can you
Wow.
believe
Oh, I
it?
can
Marriage
believe it.
may be the right solution, he says, for a child, especially since they are ripe and fertile, and it is a better solution than abortion.
You know,
What?
people have said this before. People have said this before that the reason they're against abortion, the radical right, and they want the lower levels of people being able to get married or even consent for having sex is because, and see what you think about this. Again, it's a cynical view, but the radical right is seeing that it's slipping away. Younger people are coming to the forefront and they're becoming the people that are voting, and they can see the radical right, this very stringent right religious thing, is slipping away. They're losing people in churches, they're losing supporters, and now they're getting desperate. And in their sick minds they feel like, well, if we have more kids we can bolster our roles again in our various organizations. And it sounds silly, but think of all the things that we hear from the radical right, religious right. It's all fucking silly, and it's all grandiose and delusional. It's yeah. I think they just want more people on the planet so they can try to convert them, make more Republicans.
But it doesn't make sense because once the baby's born, they completely don't give a shit about the
Right.
kid.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the sick part of Republicans. They're all for the babies before they're born, but then afterwards they don't want to pay for anything, which tells us something very
No
simple.
maternity
It's not
leave.
about the babies, it's about controlling women. They want women
Mhm.
back in their place. And good luck with
They
that.
do.
That's not going to play here. I
Well, do you want to hear who number three is? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Give me number three.
Judge Alito
Oh, that piece of
with the
shit.
bullshit upside down flag, and he blamed it on his wife. Although, I have to say, Mike, I just gave you an example before we came on. We have a decrepit white van parked in front of our house that belongs to our neighbor. It's rusted, it has an expired inspection sticker. All four tires are flat and it is an eyesore. It looks like a dumpster in front of our house. And it's our direct next door neighbor's truck. And there was someone who was running for council, and he told my husband that he would work on getting that van moved if, he voted for him. So all of a sudden, I have a Republican sign on my front lawn for council. I did not want this sign on my lawn, but he says I have to because he's going to get the van moved, blah, blah, blah. So that does happen. I know that you and your wife are of one mind, but
Well,
not
no,
here.
but I'm subservient. I'm not of one mind. We don't think at all
Okay.
alike. I just know what's good for me. Keep
Yeah.
mom happy and everybody stays safe. Well, you told me that story and I explained to you what the situation is. Clearly, you don't have nearly the control over your husband that
I
my
know.
wife has
I
over
know.
me. Well, you need to fucking get it.
I
You
guess
need,
so. I'm going to talk to your wife. I need lessons. I need lessons.
yeah. Well,
My husband and my husband was a bachelor until I'm on the second marriage, and he was 46 years old when we got married. So
wow.
he had a lot of years out in the wild. It's really hard for me. I need a mentor. Maybe I could sign up with your wife.
Well, she'd probably be able to help you out. The thing about it is, and I'm not speaking badly about your husband, but if I was in that same situation and I had a car in front of my house and the guy said, "Well, I'll move it if you vote for me," I would say, "Fuck you." I don't like people leveraging me to do something. If that van's in front of the house and it hasn't
Well,
moved
I
in a
don't know
long
that it
time,
was said. Well, he wouldn't be
it
able
was
to do it
implied.
unless he was elected. It was implied, yeah.
Yeah, it's implied. And I hope to God that your husband has enough courage to say, "Yeah, I'll vote for you," and then not do it. I have a feeling that's what he's going to do.
Yeah, I know.
See, you have no
No, no,
control,
it's all
Ilona.
done, and that guy lost.
Good.
No, no, the guy lost. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so my husband did badger the neighbor. The neighbor finally moved the van, but it's still
Okay.
there. It's still, now it's in front of the neighbor's house. But anyway,
Wow.
so but like Judge Alito with the bullshit flag, like we all know, like this is nothing new for us about Judge Alito. We know he's a Trumper,
Yeah.
so this is not news. And he can blame it on his wife, which we don't know if it's true or not, but
Well, it's not news, but it is evidence because he will deny that he is a biased or corrupt human being. And I said in a TikTok yesterday that we're in a really tough situation because we have a Supreme Court that has no integrity, is not credible, is corrupt and criminal, and we know this because of the stories with Clarence Thomas. The getting of money that
mhm.
from big time billionaires to having a wife that was responsible for, facilitated, and imp- pushed forward an attempted coup in this country, and yet he won't recuse himself from cases that have to do with the January 6th. And now, of course, we have Leto, who is involved with his wife in many sketchy things, and this is just. I'm hoping the straw that breaks the camel's back. As you said, the way it's been explained is that there was a sign in front of Judge Alito's house, which was actually a flag, an upside down flag, which was represents Stop the Steal movement, which were the
Stop
people
the
who attacked the
steal.
Capitol. Yeah. And so that's in front of his house on January 17th of 2021, just 11 days after the insurrection. There's video and there's pictures of it. What troubles me so much and tells us where our problem is that when he is confronted by it, he doesn't deny it. He just says, like you said, "Oh, that's my wife." I have a problem with that because if I'm Judge Alito and I'm coming home from a hard day of grifting billionaires from work and pull in the driveway and I see this sign and I realize in my head, that might be questionable given my
That's smart.
position.
No.
No, I would go
He's
in and
supposed
say,
to be objective.
I
He's
would go,
supposed to be above all this.
yeah, I go, "Honey, I love you. Maybe we can go shopping or something. We got to take that sign down. It just does not look good for me. And he didn't do that. And he didn't do that because he believes the way she believes, in spite of what he's trying to sell right now. But the thing that troubles me most about Clarence Thomas and Alito and some of the others is the fucking arrogance of it all. They know it's bad. They know it looks bad, and they don't give a shit because they know nobody can touch them. That's what we've got to change. We've got to make these justices accountable. We held them on a high platform, a high stage, that they were above us all. We are finding out now they aren't. They're just as susceptible to corruption, and we need to pull the reins in on that and straighten that shit out, because we can't have a stable democracy without a credible Supreme Court.
I don't know. I'm starting to think that that's not even possible because maybe this is all happening to reveal to us that no one is truly objective about anything and that we're all products of our belief system. So is it even possible to ever have a Supreme Court that's fair and impartial? I mean, look at the churches too, like all those priests that were, doing stuff to little kids. Like we were looking up to them, and then that all came crashing down. So maybe this is just like a time where we were like, we got to have safeguards and what do you call them? Like safeguards, so that these guys, if something happens, that there are consequences because they are not above the rest of us, and they have to be treated like this, like the rest of us are. That there are consequences when you do things like that.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. Nobody is completely trustworthy. Everybody has an agenda, and they will serve themselves before they serve other people, which is ironic when we're talking about politicians who serve in Congress, where their job specifically is to serve the people they represent. We can't fix that. People are people. People are fallible. People are corrupt. Some of them are criminals, and they can get into our churches, into our Congress, and into our Supreme Court. What we have to change is our mindset. We allowed them to be put on a pedestal. We allowed them to, or we allowed ourselves to believe that they were special and above it all. We're now finding out, well, that's not the case. It's kind of like, I've always thought about this, when you've got an old woman who goes to church and she's totally loyal to the church and her pastor. She says, I'm getting to God through this pastor. I'm doing the right thing. And then all of a sudden we find out that pastor is criminal in some way, either sexual assaults or money or whatever it is. And this poor old woman who spent her life trying to get closer to God through this man or this woman has realized it's all been a waste. It's an absolute abuse of power. So we have to grow up ourselves and realize nobody's above it all. Nobody's better than us. We have the capability of breaking laws, and there are rules and laws in order to stop us from doing that. So in spite of the fact they're in the Supreme Court or in the Congress or in churches, they need the guidelines too, because they've proven they can't be trusted without them.
Agreed. And maybe we should never have believed that they could. Because there's probably a bunch of nonsense that we don't even know about because of the secrecy of hiding stuff like that.
But that's the bullshit we've always been sold. I mean, I've seen that before, where somebody's this lowly judge, and we know judges can be like alien cannon. They're just absolutely despicable. One minute he's in front of Congress trying to sell himself. They're talking about all the bad things he did. And then all of a sudden they get appointed to the position in Supreme Court. Now, all of a sudden we're supposed to believe that they're now special, like Brett Kavanaugh. We heard about his days partying in college and abusing women. I knew fucks like that when I was in college. You can't tell me that if I went to college with Brett Kavanaugh, and now that you made him a Supreme Court justice, that now I got to revere him. I wouldn't, because I know who he is.
Correct.
And we all have to realize that. These are just people. Yeah. They aren't special.
Right. So maybe part of it would be to add more justices, and part of it would be to add in ethics and enforcing them. But like, who would enforce them? Like, we'd have to set that all up, because they're supposed to be like the ethical branch, right?
Well, we have to come up with an answer because clearly it's not working well, and clearly it's detrimental to our democracy. But that's the thing that's scary. A lot of things, and that's the one thing I will give Donald Trump credit for. All the criminality and the corruption and stuff like that has been going on for decades, but it's been under the radar. They've been successful at hiding it from us or covering it up. That's been going on for decades and decades. Donald Trump is like herpes. It comes to the surface and everybody can see you have fucking herpes. And Donald Trump has exposed all that criminality and corruption because he made it high profile. And that is the worst news for members of Congress, the politicians, and the churches and stuff. Now we've seen it. And as they say on
Well,
the internet,
don't forget, we now know our neighbors are
right,
bigots. We know this too. This all came to the surface too.
right. And now we've seen it, can't unsee it. So that only leaves one option. Do something fucking about it.
Yes, yes. That will
So,
take a long time. If we
well,
can get the Democrats
it may
back
take
in
a
power,
long
we can vote.
it may take a long time, but as I tell folks, here's the deal. If you've got a lot of stuff to do, don't take it all on because it's going to be overwhelming and you'll do
Mhm.
nothing. Take it step by step. First step, get them out of fucking office. Win the election big. And then once you've done that, you're in a better position to take the next step. Let's codify Roe v. Wade. That's done. Let's go after the Supreme Court. That's done. And then we've got to worry about the Democrats and what's left of the Republicans in Congress, because be perfectly honest with you, the Democrats aren't a whole lot more reliable than the Republicans. They just happen to be a dumpster fire right now. I mean, we got Bob Menendez on trial for bribery, and he's a complete corrupt fuck. It's not. It's never really up until recently with Donald Trump and how bad the Republicans have gotten. I've always said it's not about Democrats versus Republicans. It's about them against us because they're not serving us. And the only way we can make them serve us is to put pressure on them and not be apathetic.
Right, and there's also a guy, the Representative Henry
Cuellar,
Cuellar,
Cuellar.
Cuellar. He's also guilty of, bribery, getting
Yeah.
bribes too. So he's another Democrat that, we're not letting any of them have passes. This is not acceptable behavior.
No, and that's the difference between Democrats and Republicans. They will take them to task. And by the way, the only reason I know how to pronounce that name, Cuellar, is because back in the 70s, I was a baseball fan and there was a Baltimore Oriole named Cuellar. Didn't know how to say it, but I heard them say it. So now I can sound brilliant pronouncing this guy's name. But, you know, that's the one thing we've come to realize. Corruption and criminality is rampant, rampant. It's an epidemic in our politics, and we never knew it until now. It is scary to look at, but we should be appreciative that at least we know and we have the opportunity
Mhm,
to at least try to do something.
mhm, mhm.
What
One
do you
step
think?
at a time, Mike.
Yeah, one step at a time. But in terms of the Supreme Court, people always say, "Well, we'll impeach them," and there's never been a lot of luck with doing that. You got to have a lot of things going. So the only thing is, we've got to expand the court, like you said, maybe to 14 to match, or 13 or whatever it is to match the amount of circuit courts, which they should do anyway. But we need I've had people come to me say, why doesn't Biden just stack the Supreme Court right now? Because he can't. He can't do it unless he has a majority in the House and the Senate. That's the only way he can do it. So it's not on Biden right now. It's on you and me. And then once you and I do the job, then we can get on Biden to get it done.
Agreed.
Have you been watching the trial at all? The trial with Donald Trump in the Manhattan
Well,
district.
no, I've just been listening to that Michael Cohen was cross-examined and that it will be continued on Monday, and they caught him in a lie, and I
Yeah.
watched your TikTok and said, yeah, we know he lies. Like it'd be nice if you could say that here because I thought that was so logical of you. Like Yes, we know he's a liar. And what else did you say on that TikTok?
Well, were you one of the people, this trial's been going along pretty well. I mean, everything the prosecution has done has really hit home pretty well, and they probably already approved the guilt of Donald Trump. And then they bring on Michael Cohen, okay? And we expect Michael Cohen to go off half cocked and unhinged, and he doesn't do it because Michael Cohen, while he's a little nuts, he's not dissimilar from Donald Trump in many ways, maybe a little smarter. He knows how to play the game. So he knows how to maintain a certain amount of decorum when he's in court in this situation. And that goes against what Donald Trump's legal team wants. They want him to fly off the handle, they want him to look unsympathetic to the jury. And that's not working. So it's going along pretty well. And then the other day, we hear that they nailed him telling lies. And then there are the people that are the scaredy cats out there amongst the Democrats. Oh my God, we lost. Donald Trump is going to get off of 34 felony charges. And I say, please, motherfucker, come on, focus. The thing about it is that the fact that they discovered that Michael Cohen is a liar, is that news to us? We knew he's a scandalous, corrupt, lying piece of shit the moment he walked into our lives. I mean, everybody
Right.
makes
That's what a fixer does. He's a fixer. So
yeah,
fixers lie.
they lie
Yeah.
all the time. And it's funny now, people look at him as a hero because he's speaking out against Donald Trump. But when you heard the tapes and all the stuff before he flipped on Donald Trump, he was a despicable motherfucker, and he still is.
Sure. Yeah.
So he
Sure.
goes
Yeah.
in there and he lies, and Donald Trump's team is trying to do anything they can to discredit him. And now everybody's thinking, "Oh my God, we've lost." They don't understand they're trying to do here. They know he's going to be discredited. He's making comments about what happened because he was close to the situation. And they're going to say, "Well, he's a liar. You can't believe him." Maybe so, but everything he's saying is being corroborated by the previous
Yes.
witnesses
Yes.
to prove the fucking facts. They're just doing it to set it up. Donald Trump is not in good shape. This lawyer who represents him, remember when this court case started, the judge says something to him that was very devastating. You're losing credibility in this court. And he continues to get admonished and given shit to. But if you watch the media, they go, "Oh my God, it's going good for Donald Trump. It's a horse race." But that's the media's job,
Mhm.
to make it a show, to make it a fight. But there is
Right.
nothing about this
We
trial
have.
that says Donald Trump is close.
He's not close. No. I mean, I think Michael Cohen. I mean, what's that saying? A broken clock is right twice a day, or
Right.
he is a liar, but they've structured the case around that. And I guess he's like the star witness, right? Even
Right.
though he's the liar, he's the one. He's corroborating all these other witnesses. So yes, he's a liar, but he's telling the truth about these things. And that's what they're trying. I mean, it's a disgrace. The whole case is a disgrace. It's low level porn star bullshit. Like we're way in the swamp here with these people. So this is how we have to do it. Like these
Right.
are low level people that would, and this is how it operates down here. So this is how we have to handle this case. And God willing, Mike says we're going to win it. So thank God, Mike.
Well, the thing is, they tried to discredit Stormy Daniels. Stormy Daniels was a little more adept, a little more acerbic, a little more humorous, and they didn't do well with Stormy Daniels. But people have to understand the case doesn't hinge on the quality of person that Stormy Daniels is, or the quality of Michael Cohen. The case is very simple. He's not in court because he paid to have sex with a woman and then paid her to shut up. That's not what the problem is. The problem is he paid her to shut up and then lied about what that payment was for and did it through Michael Cohen. That
And
is
the way
illegal.
he paid her, and the way he paid her was not. He could have just written her a check, but he didn't do that.
No, he didn't. And the thing about it is it's not even about the business fraud that he committed there. It's not about the business fraud because that would just be a misdemeanor. Where it raises to the level of a felony is why he did the business fraud. And he did it specifically to affect the election. And there's where the felony comes in. And if you question that, let me ask you this. This affair happened in 2005 or 2006. He didn't decide to pay her off until 2015, 2016. I think Melania would have probably found out about it before then. There's only one reason why he did it then. And the other thing that I think is hilarious, they try to make us believe that Michael Cohen is despicable. And he is. He's a liar. He's self-serving. He's a narcissist. He's a piece of shit. So they try to tell us that. And then they try to tell us, well, Michael Cohen just paid off Stormy Daniels out of the goodness of his heart. Oh, does that fucking make any sense? That doesn't comply with who he is.
Correct. He has not shown us to be this kind of generous person. Oh, I want to help him. He's my friend. No, he's always in it for himself. We know that about him.
Yeah, he is.
Donald Trump, all about me. Michael Cohen, all about me. Same thing, same type of person.
Don't you see that pretty much with all Trump Levucks, though? It's all about what I can get for me right now. They don't look off into the future. I mean, even the members of Congress, they will do crazy shit in Congress thinking, oh, I'll get what I want. They don't ever think about the fact that once you do it, once you set the precedents, Democrats can do it too later on if they're in a position to do it. And then they'll scream like stuck pigs because they have the audacity to do something like that. It's troubling when I look at somebody like Michael Cohen, when I look at Donald Trump, the amount of ignorance in these people. I mean, if you're an adult and live life at all, you know better than that. And you know you have to look into the future a little bit. I mean, I got to be honest with you. Every time I'm in a fight with my wife, which never happens much because I just give up. But
yeah, sure.
Well, it's a no-win situation. I tell people, if I fight with my wife and I lose, it's over. If I fight with my wife and I win, now I got to relive all my sins from the 80s forward. She will pound me until I lose anyway. Yeah, you do.
Good. She's like a professional.
She is. she is good at it. But it's amazing the lack of foresight that all these people, they're very much immediate gratification. I want what I want now, and they don't think about what the future holds. Whenever I'm arguing with somebody, my wife or anybody else, I'm very measured about what I say. I mean, I could go off the handle and say a lot of bad shit about somebody, but I'm immediately in my analytical mind thinking, well, yeah, but if I do that, what are they going to do back to me? And then it's just going to turn into a shit show. So I kind of govern myself. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe they just don't ever have consequences. Maybe that's why they feel so emboldened to do this. But look at Marjorie Taylor Greene and her BS in the other day. She was saying about the eyelashes, about Jasmine Crockett.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, maybe you can't see with those eyelashes. I mean, what kind of BS is that?
I got to tell you, if I was going to fuck with somebody playing a game like that, calling people out, Jasmine Crockett would probably be the last person I know, because she's got some.
She's so good.
She's very smart.
So
she's very smart. Seems to be a lovely woman, but she's got an element of street in her too. So she knows what the fuck to do. Did you hear what she said back to her?
Yeah, do you know the words exactly? She was so good.
Well, she didn't actually call her that. She played a game, Jasmine.
She said it was a point of interest. She called it a point of interest. If she can say that, can I say this? I want to know what's allowed on this floor, because they corrected her when she went back at her. Remember, they're like, right. So I didn't hear what you said. Blah, blah, blah.
Well, she was basically saying, well, if she can get away with that because you didn't take down her words like I asked you to, is it okay if I call somebody a bleach blonde, badly built butch body? And of course, this hurt Marjorie Taylor Greene. But it's funny. That's going all over the place now. There's hashtags on TikToks that say B.
So good.
Well, and that's what you need to do with these people. You need to embarrass them. That is the ultimate thing you can do to Donald Trump, to the Marjorie Taylor Greenes.
Which means we have to get in the gutter, which people don't like Normal people don't want to be in the gutter. That's the problem. That's why we don't want to do that. We want to be high. Like Michelle Obama says, when they go low, we're going high. But that doesn't work. I know, but it's despicable to be down there with them. I don't
Well,
like it.
well, Ilona, I'm going to tell you, come on down here with me. The water is fucking fine and it works. I mean,
uh,
no, my premise with that is, of course you want to be the nice person. You want to take the high road if you can. And you try to do that. And like you say, it hasn't worked with these fucks. So what you have to understand at some point, when you go high, you're going above their heads, literally, as far as the whole strategy.
I
So
see. I see. I hear
sometimes
you. Mhm.
sometimes you got to get down to their level to understand it. I know from experiences with bullies when I was young, I tried to do the right thing, before I was a little more combative, and tell my mom and tell the school, and it didn't work. And then my dad, who never really ever gave me good advice, he says, you just got to fucking knock them on their ass. And you know what? It worked. When I was bullied by somebody and I just said, all right, fuck it. And then throw some hands and presumably you win, or at least do enough damage to make them think next time. And it works. And sometimes you have to
Yeah.
do that. It's sad, but that's the level of people you're dealing with.
Well, if I could make it more civilized than that, maybe we need to speak their language. Like they don't understand some of these things. They either don't have the intelligence or the perspective, experience. Maybe we do have to, you know, not be elite, educated. They hate educated people. They hate that people want to improve themselves and learn new things. They hate that,
Well,
and
I think that's what I can attribute my success to on TikTok. I spent 1 year in college, drunk most of the time. I never got a degree. I'm different from most liberals because I'm more like a Republican and tell you to fuck off and get in your face and do that shit. So I think that's why I don't get as much pushback as some people do, or death threats or things like that, because they're not sure
oh,
what I'm going to do because I'm a little more in their face. What's happening is they're the bullies and I'm pushing back and they're cowards ultimately.
so you're saying crazy recognizes crazy?
Well, I would put it, I
Motherfuckers
wouldn't go.
recognize crazy motherfuckers.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. There's a little bit of crazy in there too. I tell you what, Alona, we're going to take a quick break
Okay.
and we will be right back. We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast, having a great time talking to our guest, Ilona from the East Coast, from New Jersey. Uh, Robust conversation, as they say. And Ilona, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the trial again, because there's some issue with Donald Trump's gag order. Okay, Donald Trump. Everybody kept saying to me, "Well, Donald Trump wants to go to jail," but when it was put to him that you're going to go to jail if you do it one more time, he's really kept his mouth shut. But as so often the case with Donald Trump, he always finds a workaround, a loophole, if you will, and he starts bringing his surrogates in. Like,
Well, can I tell you who
sure,
the dumb fuck, the next dumb fuck of the week is?
yeah,
Matt Gaetz, when he said, standing back and standing by, Mr. President, that was his surrogate this week. This is exactly what you're saying. He's got all his little Trump-fucks coming up and doing his dirty work for him, and that is against the gag order. And I want to
it,
see consequences.
well, that was my question to you because I did a TikTok contrary to what you're saying. Now, granted, these are all surrogates. They are breaking the gag order. They have to prove that there was some interaction between Donald Trump and these people. And there is a journalist out there that said he was sitting behind Donald Trump, watching him edit these talking points that presumably went to these dipshit surrogates. Now, what's interesting is he had the surrogates come out. He knew it was pushing the line. And Donald Trump has been fairly quiet, but as of a day or two ago, he's now trying to push the line too. Okay. Now, you say you want consequences. What kind of consequences do you want? And when do you want them?
I wanted him to be in jail for the weekend.
Okay.
Well, right after, so that I don't know why I thought that would be a good thing, but
Let me
I
give you
know it's scary to put him in jail because we're going to rile everybody up. But
let me give you an alternative point. I would love to see that fucker in jail. I think he deserves to be in jail for the gag order. He's been playing this game too long. However, this trial is almost over. And
right, I
this
know. Why compromise the trial? Let's get it done. Let's get him convicted.
and I think this is Donald Trump's intention. I think he's watching what's going on, and his lawyers are telling him, we're not winning this motherfucking thing. There's no way we're winning it. So Donald Trump is wiggling around a bit. How can I cause confusion? How can I cause chaos? I think he might even step over the rules and specifically and blatantly try to get put in jail. As much as I know he doesn't want to be put in jail, that he's scared, he's more scared of getting convicted, and he wants to do anything to disrupt this case. And I think the prosecution should stay strong, finish the case, get the convictions, and then the judge can say, look, you did break the gag order. So as soon as you leave here after getting this verdict, you're going to spend 2-3 days in jail. But I would keep it outside the trial. We don't want to give
Yeah,
him
I
what
mean,
he
I think that's
wants.
smart. I think that is smart, and I think that we have to sit on our hands a little bit and let this play out because why drag it on? And then anything can happen. Anything can happen. Let's keep the time frame tight and get to the end. And then, I mean, if he gets convicted, he's going to appeal it, correct? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then, I mean, he's not going to jail. What's going to happen if he gets convicted? That's what I've been thinking, and what I wanted to ask you. Like, he's guilty of, say half of the
Okay. So
indictment.
17 felony charges. It may be more
Felonies.
than that. Now, people, that's the thing. I talk to a lot of people and they think the only win here is that he goes to jail. And granted, that's something we all want to see and something he deserves. But we don't need him to go to jail instantaneously to win. The win is the convictions, the multiple convictions, because that changes everything. That changes his perception from independents and the reasonable minded Republicans. That may be a bridge too far for them to vote for somebody who's been convicted of a felony. That may be the thing that breaks them away from Donald Trump. And more importantly than that, what is that going to do to Donald Trump's head? He is a broken, emotional fuck, and he is insecure as hell, and he's a narcissist. And once it's been shown that he is absolutely guilty, he can appeal it all he wants, but he's still guilty. He's still a fucking convict at that point. What's that going to do to his head? I'm not worried about him going to jail yet. I'm worried about the convictions. Once the convictions are there, that changes everything. It changes everything he can do, the way he thinks. And again, take it a step at a time. Let's get the conviction. Then we can worry about him going to jail or worry about the other trials that may come after the election. I'm cool with that, actually. I didn't think I'd say that, but now I'm okay with it if those come after the election, because Donald Trump will be way more vulnerable when those three hit because he's got no protection. He's not running for president. He's not the president. They'll fucking just bury him.
But I don't know that he will lose that many voters because we already know that his base are beyond reason and sensibility, and we can't reach them. So even if he gets convicted, the only people that will impact are the independents and the mainstream Republicans, right? And
Yeah.
is that really
See,
enough?
well, this is the thing. A lot of people, and I'm sorry to tell you this, Ilona, it's all based on fear, not on facts.
Okay, thank you.
Donald Trump's base, you give them way too much credit. They're not that big. They're like 25% of the Republican Party, maybe 30% of the Republican Party. And here's what you have to understand: there's more Democrats than there are Republicans. In order for a Republican to win anything in terms of the presidency, they have to have a unified Republican Party. They have to get everybody in the Republican Party and then some independents. He's lost the independents. The party is divided. We see this in the primaries where he's losing 20 to 25% to Nikki Haley, and she's not even on the fucking ballot. These are people that just can't stomach voting for Donald Trump. So the base can do whatever they want. I don't care. They're a waste, and they will probably always vote for him. But in 2020, he always crows about having 74 million voters that all support Donald Trump. Well, that's not the case. Most people who voted for Donald Trump in 2020 voted him because they always vote Republican, because dad voted Republicans, because grandpa voted Republican. They couldn't
So
stomach.
dumb. That is
Well,
so dumb. When I hear people do it, why do people do that?
well, because the
It's
parties
dumb.
themselves are kind of cults in their own, Democrats and Republicans. They get you to believe that you got to vote one club or the other club, otherwise you're wrong. You got to support your club, and that's why I say I don't join clubs. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. Just I do something crazy. I try to vote the right way about the right things, regardless of who they are. Lately, it's been more Democrats than Republicans, and a lot of times it's the lesser of two evils, and that may be the case between Biden and Trump. I like Biden, what he's done as president, but I'm not a big Biden fan. I made this comparison. We got all these people, and I'm curious about this. With all this stuff with Israel and everybody saying, oh, all the kids are going to vote against Joe Biden. I don't believe that. That's a Republican narrative any more than Donald Trump is going to run the table in this particular trial. That's what the media tells us so they can stir some shit up. But the
And the
facts
kids
don't
don't,
prove it.
if they and the kids, I mean, if they think about it for longer than 2 seconds, they don't want to lose their base, especially the women. They don't want to lose any more of their rights, their right to an abortion, especially that demographic. That's important. And, your immediate life, even though this is happening and it's terrible across the sea, you have to vote for yourself and your own best interests because that impacts your daily life.
Right.
That's
Right.
important. So that doesn't even make sense to vote on that issue. But there's going to be those people that do it, and that's fine.
But this is so typical of the Republicans. Remember before the 2022 midterm election, what did you hear in the ether, on the
Red
media, from
wave,
the
red
Republic?
wave,
Red wave, red wave. They kept saying
wave.
it. It's like they're trying to will it into existence or make you believe it so that you don't come out because it's a waste. But in the end, it didn't happen. There was no red wave. And it wasn't because the Republicans said it or the Democrats said anything. It was very specific reason why there was no red wave. Because months before they overturned Roe v. Wade. That's why there was no red wave. That's the facts, not the emotions, not the fears. The facts and how it affects people are what's going to determine who wins the election in November. But everybody, including the media, wants you to get emotional about it, make you fearful of it, and you can't get caught up in that. What are the facts? People say, you really believe Donald Trump will win or Donald Trump will lose? I go, absolutely. The facts bear it out. I was talking to somebody one time and I said, I'll tell you why I think he'll lose. And you tell me why you think he'll win. And I said, look, he has gained nothing from 2020. He's gained no support from 2020, and he lost by 7 million votes. He overturned Roe v. Wade, and he embraced it as if it's his deal. 75% of this country support Roe v. Wade. So you tell me how he wins. I said, now you tell me how he wins. Well, I just think there's more stupid people in this country, and I just have this feeling. I see the difference between here. I'm taking facts and data, and you're taking emotions and your fears. Fears and emotions never allow you to make good decisions. So stop fucking doing that.
Thank you, Yoga Mike. You should be a yoga teacher. That's what I do with my students. I'm like, disassociate, come apart from your emotion, be calm, breathe, You do that for us every day. Thank you, Mike.
Well, I think with the body I have, that yoga may not be my best move.
No, but that's part of yoga is meditation and being able to detach from our emotions, from being upset, and just sitting and being calm by breathing. So you're doing that for us, and that's what the big attraction is. I think why you have so many followers is because you do this kind of reasoning. You make everybody understand. You can meet everyone where they're at and help them understand. So kudos to you, Mike.
well, and I had to. That's the one thing is I had to train myself to be this way. I was as emotional. I'd lose my temper, and I did all that stuff, and I saw what it was doing. I realized it doesn't work. So naturally, I said, well, if that doesn't work, I should try something different. And that's why I tried to tell my son this. I said, everything you think now, every way you behave right now, you've trained yourself to do. So naturally, if that's true, then you should be able to train yourself to do something else. So, like with striking out in anger, I said, that doesn't work for me. That's fucked up. So, I'm going to force myself to not lose my temper, just stay calm. And it's real hard at first and it takes some time, but over time, it becomes second nature. So, we all can do it if we want to do it. I'm not doing anything special here. I'm just adapting to for my own survival at this point. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Guru.
No, 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 no problem. I feel weird talking to an educated woman who involved in yoga and stuff, and I'm just this dumb fuck that left.
You should do a program. This is the program. You do one part, your wife does the other part. I mean, you could be cashing in on TikTok. Just have one of those little links and we all sign up and then we get to be like rational boomers
Yeah, yeah.
and
Well,
wives.
I don't know that I can get my wife. I've said come on the show. I think people would love it. Um, but she won't do it, and you know why she won't do it? Because what I'm talking about here, the way I am here, she's just the opposite. And
Mm.
I try to tell her, and one of the problems is if you're me and you tell if I tell my wife something or my kid something, well, they don't want to hear that shit. There's no credibility there. They don't want to say it. But if you told her exactly
Yes,
what I told her, she'd think it's the
I agree.
gospel. She think it's the gospel. So
Tell
what
her I'm always on her side no matter what you say. So we have to stick together, the wives.
all right. Well, you had another direction you wanted to go.
Well, I got another dumb fuck for the week.
Okay.
Um, So Angela also Brooks won. She beat David Trone in Maryland for the
Yeah.
Democratic nomination, and she's running against Maryland Governor Larry Hogan,
Right.
former governor, and he voted against legislation to expand abortion rights in 2022. And now he's saying, and we know all Republicans, many Republicans lie, you have my word that I will continue to protect your right to make your own reproductive choices.
Right.
Now, are you going to believe that guy?
No. No, I don't
That's
believe any
BS.
Republican.
And I say vote for Angela. I mean, what a breath of fresh air. And she had like a really, really contentious race against David Trone. So I'm really like another woman, another black woman. I hope she makes it.
Well, it's funny how Republicans hold on to this Trump-la-fuck ideology. I mean, it's been failing since after the 2016 election. Donald Trump's influence has been nothing but a loser in every election since then. But these people seem to think there is some traction to be made by sticking with Donald Trump. I mean, when you see the Speaker of the House go to the court and speak out against the judge, I mean, how embarrassing is that? I mean, how far will these people go to diminish themselves? Do they not realize that when this is all said and done, this is going to stick to them forever? I don't understand it. I mean, I can see it, and I'm
You
just a
will
dumb
not
fuck.
And even like when we were talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene,
Right.
what got that whole incident incited is when she said, "Oh, does the judge's daughter work for the Democratic Party?"
Yeah.
I mean, stupidity. Like, they're such ridiculous. Their
Well,
points are ridiculous
and her
because they have
point,
no points. They have no points, so they say stupid shit.
well, that's what Marjorie Taylor Greene's job is in Congress for the Republicans, is a shit stir. She's not done any bills. She's not accomplished anything. She's nothing more than a shit stir, and she's had some luck at fundraising. So they make her a leader just because she can start shit and maybe raise a little bit of money. Again, it goes back to integrity. It's not about serving the people. It's not about doing the job. It's about causing the most fucking noise.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, and don't forget, we want to talk about the debate today too.
Yeah, let's talk about that because I find that interesting. Donald Trump says, um, "Yeah, I want to debate Joe Biden." Didn't you find that interesting that he was the one to put it out there?
Fascinating. Well, they say that Dark Brandon, first of all, I loved the video of him saying, "I hear you're free on Wednesdays." That was
I
the
love that.
best. I loved it. And I like that he agreed to the terms, to be in a TV studio, no audience, and the mic is cut off. And I saw, who's that idiot on Fox News saying, "Oh, he's doing it to orchestrate against, Donald Trump, and that's unfair." What's that dumb guy on Fox News? It's,
Sean Hannity.
yeah, him. So he was like, "Oh, this is so bad. Joe Biden's a jerk," and blah, blah. But I am so happy that, I mean, who knows if he'll even do it because we can't trust him to, abide by his commitments at all, ever. But Kamala Harris has also agreed to debate the vice presidential candidate, too. So we got both of them on board. I am nervous, honestly, whenever I hear Joe Biden speak. I'm at the edge of my seat. Like, I'm like you. Like, he wasn't my number one pick, and he is not. I always worry that he can get the next word out. He doesn't sound eloquent. Like, sometimes he's great. Like when he was, at the
State of the
State of the
Union.
Union, he was great. But other times, like, oh my God, please just say the next word. Like, I'm so nerve wracked by that whole thing coming up. I'm going to be a wreck. I will be a wreck that he's not going to present himself well. I'm sure he'll do fine, but I won't be fine. I'm going to need to go to your school for the week before so that I can be calm.
Well, you know why you're nervous about it? You're nervous about it because you're going to be listening to it, not so much for the content. You're going to be looking for that slip up that you know the Republicans are
Yes,
going to
I
call out.
know, exactly.
But
That's
but
what I'm,
but consider this. Consider this. As much as Joe Biden, every time I see him talk, he doesn't talk as quickly as I'd like or as eloquently, but he's pretty good for his age. But look who he's up against.
I
Donald
know.
Trump is going to look like a fucking fool up there. And the one thing you have to consider over and above the speaking ability, Donald Trump is losing it. If you've heard him recently, he's in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
He's nuts.
he's given speeches and going off on tangents with Hannibal Lecter. I don't even know what the fuck he was doing there.
He was a
But
good man, Hannibal Lecter. He was a good man.
but here's the
It
thing you
was
have to understand.
crazy.
You have to understand about Joe. Joe may be slow and he may be old, but nobody in Washington has more experience playing this game. He's showing it when he's made Kevin McCarthy and Mike Johnson his bitch each and every time. He may be slow, but he knows how to play the fucking game. And he knows how to play the game in a debate. He's done many debates. He knows how to do it. And all he has to do is keep his cool and just keep doing what he's doing and let the circus monkey make a fool out of himself because he will make a fool out of himself. But what I found interesting is that Donald Trump went out there and said, "We need to do a debate." What does that tell you about the situation? That tells me he's fucking desperate. He knows he's losing.
Mhm.
He knows he has to do something. And then Joe Biden says, "Okay, I will debate you. Here's the rules. Here's the rules." And then he makes fun of him. Immediately, within hours, he says, "I'll do it. I'll do it." Again, that's an emotional reaction. He didn't think about it. And now I'm hearing some Republicans going, "Oh, fuck. That was not a good idea. We shouldn't agree to those rules. He just took away every advantage that Donald Trump might use. And so Donald Trump can't talk over him if they're going to cut off the mic. Donald Trump can't play to the crowd if there is no fucking crowd. Joe Biden gamed this situation, and Donald Trump took the fucking bait, and he's got every disadvantage going against him into this debate. Joe Biden can't help but beat this fucker. And I think we're talking June 27th, just over a month. I guarantee you, Donald Trump is either going to make excuses before time or just not show up. That's I don't know how he's going to pull it
Oh,
off,
you
but
think
he'll
he
spend.
wouldn't show up?
I think he
You
might
think he
not.
might not show up that day?
Yeah, no. What
Sheesh.
he'll create some problem, and he'll say, "Well, there's people already talking about this." You remember when Donald Trump said, "Yeah, we need to do drug testing," and I wondered where the fuck are you going with that? You're saying Joe Biden's again. This is the contradiction. You're saying Joe Biden's on cocaine, but you're also calling him Sleepy Joe. That doesn't seem to make any
No,
fucking
yeah,
sense.
nothing.
But I heard
No.
one media guy on Fox News or something saying, "Oh yeah, I know Joe Biden's jacked up," and he was talking to Maria Bartiromo or somebody. He's all jacked up on some drugs. I got proof of it. So the Fox News says, "Well, what's the proof?" Well, I got it. I'm not going to show it on the air. Of course, you never show it on the air. You don't have any evidence. I could say a lot of things about anybody. I could say Ilona's a floozy and bounces in and out of bars, and I got proof of it. Well, show me the proof. Well, I don't. I'm not going to show it to you here, but trust me, I got it. That's how they do things. I think Donald Trump. It's like testifying in the trial. I'm going to testify. Ain't no way he's going to testify. And if he does, it will be a
Oh,
disaster.
no, he can't testify because they'll have him on perjury. I mean,
But
I guess he could go against his lawyers. He does it all the time.
right, exactly.
Yeah,
He
that would
makes
be
those
tough.
lawyers do stupid things. I mean, how many lawyers has he gotten sanctioned and disbarred? They just do his bidding, even though they know it's stupid and dangerous for them. So he
Mhm.
could testify if he feels like he needs to or feels like he's losing. And I think he does feel like he's losing. I think he's getting
Yeah.
that.
Well, it
So
would be next week because they're saying next week is the last week.
yeah, they're going to put on their defense. And the interesting thing about that, what they said about the defense, everybody thinks it's going to be a long list of witnesses, and it's not. It's going to be maybe one or two if they put on any at all. But last week they said, well, we might have a witness, but it wouldn't be until Monday, but we're not sure. That tells me they're weighing the Donald Trump testimony. And I maybe not, because I don't. Who else can they get? Everybody they could get has already been a prosecution witness. So who else could they get? Now, I'm sure they're trying to fight him to not testify, and he wants to testify. It's just a matter of whose will wins here. I hope he does testify because that would be absolutely fucking hilarious.
Oh, to be a fly on the wall. I would love to see it, but not smell it.
Yeah, no, no shit. Well, so you're fearful that the debate might go badly for Don or for Joe Biden?
I just get nervous whenever he talks. That's just it. I mean, and I know he has a speech
Yeah.
impediment or stutter and he's also older, and I like to talk fast. I like this kind of energy, but he's not that energy, and I hate to say that I got a little bit of the old people prejudice. Like I'm worried that he's not going to respond quickly enough or let the idiot, talk what you can't talk over him. But I don't know what I'm nervous about, but I don't think I'm alone. I think other people. Now my husband will say, "Oh, he's senile. Joe Biden's senile." I'm like, he's not senile. He's just doesn't speak
You,
well.
you know, you
I
know,
think.
I hear that a lot from Democrats, some Democrats and Republicans. Oh, Joe's senile. He can't put together a sentence. Show me an example of when that happened. I
No,
haven't
I
seen it.
know. I don't think he's senile. But like I said, we're all going to be nervous. You're going to be nervous too. You're going to be like, "Oh, please, Joe,
I
hit it out
think
of the park, Joe."
I think anytime Donald Trump stands in front of a microphone and starts to talk, that is a win for Democrats. It's
Okay.
always a
Okay.
win for Democrats. He always implicates himself. He always is embarrassing himself, and he can't help it because he doesn't have a filter, and he doesn't think. He just says whatever comes into his mouth. This is why he's been sued 2 or 3 times for defamation of character. He gets sued for defamation of character. He has to pay $5 million. The moment he gets out of court, he does it again. This fucker has no control over himself. He's like an incorrigible child.
Right. But you know what's going to happen? Say he goes, then the Democrats are going to go on and say, oh, we did great. Then the Republicans say, yeah, we totally won that. It's just like going to be the same BS. But I mean, it's worth looking at. It's worth seeing Donald make a fool of himself. Donald make a fool of himself.
Well, and I think that would be a good thing for the Democrats. I mean, people have to see that he's not a serious or smart man, and he certainly is not. They'll say, well, he's a
Well, how many
brilliant.
times do we need to see it, Mike? How many times do we need to see it? We've seen it.
When are we going to see the intelligence and the 3D chess? That is the most frustrating thing for me, is that you have the Republicans that think he's a genius, and that they support him. You can almost understand that. But what frustrates me more than anything are the Democrats that buy into the bullshit. Like, oh, he's
Mm,
gonna win the trial. He's not gonna win the fucking trial. He's going to get convicted. No way he runs the table on 34 felony charges. It's just not
no,
possible. Um, and the same thing with the election, and the same thing with the debate. I think the debate won't come off because Donald Trump won't show. Something will happen, or he'll make some complaint that I would, but Joe Biden's done this. It's going to be something like that. I mean, remember when he did debate Joe Biden twice, he lost both times. I mean, we've been through this before, 4 years ago, and then he just didn't show up the third time.
oh, he didn't show up? I don't
No,
remember
he
that.
didn't. He didn't show up. He was probably pouting and made some. He'll always spin it to make it look like he's above it or something's wrong, and it's all a fix. That's kind of what he said when he did the debate, is that it's all a hoax. It's all a fix for Joe Biden. Now, you'll hear some of his inner circle start already couching the issue of this debate. They know it's going to be a problem and it's not going to go well. So they're already setting things up to complain or make excuses for not showing. I hope he shows. And I hope he's the nominee, but I'm not convinced he can last until November under the stress and strain he's currently under.
And then it'll be Nikki Haley, I guess.
Not
No, you're right.
necessarily.
I remember you saying they're not going to take her either because she's not the right look.
No, they somehow have to appeal to the Trumplafucks while at the same time appealing to more mainstream Republicans, and I don't like calling them that because they've been um, submissive to the MAGA group, even though they're small. They don't really have anybody to replace him. They don't, and they. I don't think the Republicans will push him out. I don't think they'll make him not run because they have a problem there. If they push him out and he's not the nominee, all the little Trumplafucks that love Donald Trump, they just won't vote. And if they don't
Mhm.
vote, all the down ballot people are going to take
Take a
take
licking.
it. Yeah, they
Yeah,
are. So the
good.
Republicans are in a bad situation. As much as people want to tell me that Donald Trump's got a chance, um, he is without question. If you look at Donald Trump and all the things going around him, he is absolutely the worst presidential candidate for a major party in the history of this country. Everything is going against him.
Okay, I agree.
I don't feel like you believe it though. You're not totally on board.
I'm still going to be nerve wracked. I can't help it. It's just, I mean, I need, oh, is that your wife?
That's my wife.
I saw her.
She doesn't want to be on camera, but she
She
said
really
to say hi to
exists.
you. She really exists. No,
Oh, good. Tell her I said hi.
I will. I will. Um, but uh, so you're living in New Jersey, in a beautiful place, it sounds like, but you've got Trump-la-fucks all around you. How
I
do
do.
you
I'm in a very Republican area by the
now
beach. Yeah.
when you walk out of the house, do you feel the Republicans mean mugging you and looking at you and go, "Ah, oh, she's a fucking libtard"? Do you feel that?
So I make sure I put my gay flag out. I try to countermand their you know, well, the police, if you see the police flags up, they're, even though they're, not really truly pro police, but they put the police flags out. We got all those pickup trucks with the flags on them around here as well. And yeah, I do feel like a minority in this neighborhood. I'm trying to find other people. I'm going to a Democratic Party meeting here in town, and usually we only have Republicans run uncontested, which we got to stop doing that, because
Right,
that's just hurting us.
right.
That there's I don't want to run, but I want to help support change, at least for my grandchildren as well. I mean, because I've been complacent. I've been busy raising my family, working. I had to take care of my elderly parents, and that's where my kids are. They don't have to take care of me yet, but they're busy. They're busy. And I feel like that's our responsibility. You're taking up a great role with your TikToks and your podcast, but I feel like I have to do something too. And I'm going to see what it's like what they're doing here as far as Democrats are concerned. But
Well, we'll get back to politics, but I think now that you mentioned that, we should mention that you do a podcast too. I was on the podcast. I've listened to the podcast. We should let
oh,
people know
right.
about that.
Yeah. Well, I'm finished. I did 10 episodes, and I really did enjoy it. There were 9 women, 1 guy. That was you. So, but I really do enjoy it. I have to think about the people that I like to interview are people in the third chapter, which is like you and me, Mike. That's what I'm calling the third chapter. And I want them to, I want to talk to people who are doing cool things, and, not just sitting on the couch or whatever, you know, I want to talk to interesting people. So, if I can find some more, I'll do another season.
Well, you should definitely do it. It's a great show. I enjoy listening to it, and it's a good idea because as much as we the older people and the young people want to push us aside as we did when we were young, there's a lot of us in our age group, whether it be Gen X's or baby boomers. There's like 70 million of us. So there's a market out there that is kind of untapped. One of the proudest things about the podcast and the TikToks, if you look at the demographics who listen to this podcast, we got some young people, but it's mostly 45 to 65 and maybe even beyond that. And I try to think back to my grandparents or even my parents when they were 64, like I am now. And I feel like it's a different world, and 64-year-old people are different people than they were when my grandmothers and grandfather was those ages. We're still doing things, still doing things that are interesting, that are valuable, that are impactful. And we should talk about that. We can't just sit back and be like the old people in the rocking chair. And I think there's a lot of people out there that are ready to settle in. I'm old now. Now I don't do anything, and we can't
Yeah.
do that.
Well, if any of the listeners here kind of fit that bill, let me know. Let Mike know, and he can let me know. My website is the Pebble in Your Shoe. That's where I write. But if you can contact me through there, and if you're doing something that you're proud of, and want to share that with people, let me know.
Well, people will always say to me, um, "You tell these stories, and they like the stories." And I tell people we all have stories. We all
We
have
do.
interesting stories. We all have stories that can teach other people other things. You just have to be willing to tell it and have the confidence to tell it and not worry about how people might react. Because mostly, if you tell a interesting story of your life, it's always a positive response to it. Nobody go, "Oh, you're stupid." People want to hear this. They like the nostalgia of it. They like the different perspective that you have. So that's why I'm saying a show like yours, you could continue doing it with just normal people that haven't done great things,
No,
but
that's what I mean. Yeah, normal people. regular people.
Yeah, regular people.
I had, well, obviously you, I had a poet on there. I had a lady, oh my God, if you had heard all the things that she went through. But anyway, she's an artist, she's a writer. I have somebody who became sober after 40 years and how that impacted her, and she became a writer. There's just so many stories that people should be telling, and they shouldn't be afraid. Because I think that it is fear that holds people back because, oh, and judgment, like, what are people going to think of me if I tell my story? But I think that it endears people to you when you share, and it also empowers people to, hey, maybe I can tell my story too.
Yeah, I think if you go to the internet, you see some crazy, stupid, sometimes despicable shit. Um, I think we all need to know our history about our families and about history in general. Um, and the way people are going to get it now is here on the internet. I envy you because I spent many years doing different things in radio. I was a sports reporter. I spent a little bit of time as a disc jockey. I spent a lot of time as a traffic reporter. And I always hated being pigeonholed like that because I'm interested in a lot of things and have done a lot of different things and different experiences. And as much as I like doing the rational boomer thing, and I will always do it, I sometimes wish I could do a show like you're doing because that interests me, or just talk about, history or whatever. I don't know, maybe sometime down the road when things settle down, I'll try some other things. But I'm envious of people who can go out and do normal shit as opposed to the goofy shit I do
Oh, that's your jam, Mike.
so far.
You're good at it. I mean,
So,
why mess with it? I mean, I appreciate that you're interested in other things, and maybe you'll start doing yoga now.
you know, I, I, it's funny. It's funny when I was a young man, like 17, 18 years old, there was this kid I went to school with, good kid, and he got real deep into yoga. Now I'm 17, I'm drinking beer. I'm in decent shape at the time. But I expressed an interest because I'm interested in a lot of things that don't necessarily comply or are part of my what you would think I'd be interested in. So I expressed an interest. I expressed an interest in that just briefly. That motherfucker sent me every goddamn book, called me all the time, trying to get me into it. Then I started feeling like it was a cult, and then a party would come up and there'd be beer. I go, yeah, I don't have time to talk to you. So I had a moment in time when somebody was trying to convince me of yoga, and I think it's a great thing. I just don't know if I would be a good fit for it.
Well, we have all kinds of yoga, and I didn't really get into it until about 9 years ago. So I was in my 50s. So I
Really?
have not, like, yeah, I haven't been doing it my whole life, and I just really appreciate. Like, I have a lot of aches and pains, and that's why I got into it. I'm like, oh my God, it hurts, whatever. So just like simple stretches really help with your mobility, and also it's got the meditation part, which we all really need. And one of the things I believe about yoga is it can help everybody with, especially in this environment, just to bring some inner peace, because with the chaos that's around us, it's overwhelming. And so I think that if I didn't have you, Mike, I'd be doing even more yoga than I already do.
Well, it's a funny thing about meditation. I don't know a lot about meditation. I don't even know that I know how to do it, but I think what I do is something similar to it. I'm a firm
It
believer that
is.
everything you have going on in your life, whether it's good or bad, it's because people really get into their heads. It's what's in your
Mhm.
head determines what's going to happen and how things happen and how you react. So the question is, a lot of people have stress, anxiety, nervousness, negativity in their heads. So that's how they feel. For me, the goal was to get into my head like everybody else does, but try to make it clearer, more simple, more positive, kind of throw out. And I guess that's part of what meditation is, even though I don't officially suggest that I meditate, but it is about your head and about where
Mhm.
you put yourself.
Correct. Right. And a lot of the things that happen in your mind or thoughts that you think, they're not even true.
Right.
And I think that's one of the things is like, is this even true? But first you have to stop and think about what you're thinking. So that's what yoga does. It makes you stop and say, well, wait a minute, I'm thinking this, that I'm a jerk and a loser and, I don't know how to do anything. Is that even true? And, it's just looking at what you're thinking about. And I think that's really like an important step that yoga helped me with, just like, that's
Well,
not true. I'm good at this. These are positive things about me. I'm not all negatives, because that's not how we're wired
well,
to think negative.
isn't that weird how you will do that to yourself and you will assume, oh, I'm going to lose or I can't do this. But if you were talking to somebody else, a friend, you would give them that positive reinforcement, whether it was true or
Absolutely.
not, but you would give it to them to try to help them, but you won't do it for yourself.
Right, I know. And I always think about how I talk to my children, how I talk to my friends, and how I talk to myself is radically different. And I should treat myself maybe a little bit better than, what I do.
Yeah, I think that's true for everybody. You know, some people will come to me and they'll say, uh, people have said to me, "Oh, you're a little cocky," and I like to think there's a thin line between cocky and confident. And confident is somebody who knows what they know what they don't know, but they stand behind the things they know. Cocky to me is somebody who thinks they know everything about everything and won't shut up about it. So there is a difference
Mhm.
between confidence and cocky, but it's my contention that there are so many people that lack confidence when they see somebody who's confident, they don't know what to do with that. How can you fucking do that? I would never do that. So they have a negative connotation to confidence. They
Well, look at
immediately,
that Donald Trump. Like, not to get off on track, but he just spouts nonsense and he doesn't think twice about whether it's true, whether it hurts anybody's feelings.
true.
He does not care. He just like throws up on us with his negativity and lies. And you see somebody like that, and then we're all afraid to talk. Like, we can't say like one little thing, we're afraid, and we get like nonsense like that. It's ridiculous. Like, just look at the contrast between the two.
Yeah. And that's why when some asshole like me that's more than willing to wade into it is a problem for Trumplafucks because they don't know what to do with that. They're used to getting you to back down. And when you don't back down, they don't know what to do with it because they're cowards at their soul. Um, do you, we're going to wrap this up here pretty quick, but I've said this before on the show, and I feel like the vast majority of the people, after going through the last 8 years with Donald Trump and the Republicans, we are we're like an abused family. That's why people come to me and say, "Oh, it'll never work. He'll never be accountable for it." That's what you would say if dad was a narcissist and constantly beat on you. I feel like there's a certain amount of abuse that's been inflicted on the people of this country. And some people have said a lot of people with PTSD. And I get it because I hear it all the time.
Yeah, so I'm a trauma informed yoga teacher, and I agree 100%. Everybody has had trauma. And I think that you do provide sort of this mecca where people feel like if I go to Mike, I'm going to feel better. He's going to let me know that everything's okay. And you're attracting. I mean, I don't know who's not been traumatized by, the pandemic has been very traumatizing for everyone. This 2016 election and what floated to the surface, very traumatizing for me.
Yeah.
I had no idea what was out there, and people don't feel safe. And if you don't feel safe, you look for places where there might be safety, but really the place to be safe is right inside. Like, you
Right.
have to be able to make yourself safe. And yeah.
Well, the prescription I would give to people to make you feel better is very simple. And it's something I've employed most of my life. And it's, I don't give a fuck. I don't care what happened yesterday. I don't care what you think about me, and you don't scare me. And if you can convince yourself to do that, life gets so fucking easy.
Yeah, well, I'm like with your wife though. Those things matter.
I told somebody
Yeah.
the other day, I said, look, I'm 64 years old. If I'm lucky, I got 20 years. I've gotten through 64 years unscathed so far. At least I survived anything that happened to me. You got 20 years to fuck me up. Good luck with that, because in
I
15
got
years,
40. I'm gonna live till 100 because I'm doing yoga.
okay, well, there you go. There you go. Well, Alona, I want to thank you for coming on. It's always a great pleasure to have you on the show. It's always entertaining for me and I'm sure the audience. So anytime you want to come back on, I don't want to have to beg you. Just send me an
Okay.
email and say, I want to come back on, and check out her
Thank you.
podcast.
Thank you so much, Mike. It's so much fun to talk to you.
All right. We will, we'll wrap things up for the Rational Boomer podcast. For those of you listening, thank you for taking the time. I hope you have a great day. And of course, we'll talk to you tomorrow.